Hi guys, in this video we're going to learn how to create a dining room scene in Blender 2.8 and Cycles. This will mostly be a scene building and lighting and a rendering tutorial. We won't really be covering how to do any of the modeling of the elements like the dining table or the chairs or the vase or the carpet or any of that stuff. If you want to learn how to model all those elements, please check out my previous videos on my channel. The links are in the description. So, if you followed all the videos from this series, you would have worked hard to create all the elements already. So it's now time to bring them all into one scene. So what we want to do now is we want to go to each of those elements that we created. So for example, we'll start off with the dining table. And then simply what we're going to do is we're going to first off name it correctly. So I'm just going to double click the name over there. We don't want to call it cube. We'll call it the dining table. And then we're going to simply hit save. And then we're just going to go around and do that for each element. So maybe for the chair, I'll call this one chair and simply hit, dining, or just call it wooden chair and hit save. So then I'm just going to go around and do the same for each of the elements. So once that's done, I'm just going to go back and go create a new Blender scene from scratch. So go to File, New, and then General. Once you've done that, it's now time to import all the assets that we created throughout the series. So I guess I don't want to see the camera and the light for now, so I'm just going to go ahead and hide them by clicking this eye icon over here. By the way, I may as well turn on screencast keys. I'm testing out this new screencast key feature that is available in Blender 2.8, I think made by, now maintained by Janum. So let me know if you prefer this kind of screencast keys or the one that I had previously that came with OBS Studio, the actual keyboard overlay, the graphical one. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to import all the assets. So I don't need the cube for this one. I mean, I will eventually need it, but for now I'll just get rid of it. I'm going to Shift S cursor to world origin, and then let's now start to bring in each of the assets. So to import each of the assets that we've created, go to File and then Append. From there, locate the folder where you saved all your assets. So in this case, I want to start maybe with the table, then I want to go to Object, and then search for the object that I created, in this case the dining table. Luckily we named it nicely, so we were able to locate the object. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for each of the files. Okay, so at this point I have all the scenes that we worked on in this series now imported into my scene simply by using File, Append, and then going to the Object folder and bringing those objects in. So now it's time to set up our dining room for rendering. So first thing we need to do is we need to model a room for the dining table. So for that, I'm simply going to create a cube. So Shift A, Mesh, Cube. Then I want to tab into edit mode and go G, Z, and then hit the control key, and then just move it up until the bottom is in line with this red line over here. Okay, and then simply I'm just going to, let's see the height. The height I'm going to let's go to face select mode, select the top face over there by right clicking, and then hit G, Z, and maybe make it around nearly three squares high. In Blender, one box is about one square meter. So this is 1 meter, 2 meters, and 2 and a bit meters. So that seems to be about the average height of a house. Maybe you can make it a little smaller, but yeah, something like that. From this side, I'm just going to drag it out. This is really up to you how far you want to drag it out. I might push it to somewhere about there. Yeah, something like that. And the sides, I'm just going to pull it out. GY, and then hit the control key. Maybe somewhere like there, and same with this one. GY, and then hit the control key. And do something like that. Finally, I want to select this side of the face, and then hit X and delete face. Simply so that we can see what's going on in the scene. Then tab out of edit mode, and then go GX, and then encase the entire scene, the entire dining room scene with our room. So now we have set up our room. Maybe I might just go ahead and make this one a bit more wider, GX, and maybe one more box wider. And I think that's looking good. Okay, we might just create a little bit of a doorway over here just to make the scene a bit more interesting. So tab into edit mode, go Control R, add a loop cut over here. Maybe make the height of the door something like maybe somewhere around there. And then add 2 loop cuts over here. And then left click, and then S, Y, and then just move it out to around about, let's say, that much. Yeah, something like that. Then go to face select and simply just, delete, simply just delete that face. So X, delete face. So we have something that looks like that. So now we can start to position our camera. So let's bring back our camera. And if I select my camera, then go to numpad 3 on my keyboard to go to the right view, and then go Control Alt 0. That will immediately position the camera to exactly how we see it in the view. So now it's just a matter of positioning the camera so that it looks good. So I'm just going GZZ to dolly into the scene, then GZ to move up on the Z axis. Maybe I'll go GY just to move a little bit here, and then we rotate it around like so. GY, and then might just have a downish kind of an angle like so, so that we can get as much of our dining room scene as possible. Also, just to make it more realistic, I'll select this wall over here, select these faces over here, and we may extrude out a little just to give it a bit of thickness like so, and I think that's looking okay. I'm gonna be a bit lazy and not bother modeling the actual doorway for the dining room, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just use a quick add-on to do this for me. So first off, let's tab into edit mode over here, and then select this edge over here where the doorway will be, then go Shift S, cursor to selected, then tab out. Next we want to go to edit, preferences, then add-ons, search for Archimesh. Then just go ahead and tick that, and then just close it. So now we've enabled the Archimesh add-on, which is a cool add-on for creating architectural elements. I also have a video on my channel about Archimesh and Archipack, so go ahead and check that out if you're interested in learning how to create cool architectural elements quickly and easily. So in this case, I want to go to Shift A, Mesh, Archimesh, and just simply create a rail window. Okay, and I might go ahead and drag this out by left-clicking, dragging, and then in View, I'm just going to scroll down and play around with how I want this to look. So first off, I want the height of this one to be a lot higher. I want to be as high until it intersects with the top. So somewhere around there is good enough. Okay, so for the rotation, I want it to rotate correctly, not in that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and change this direction to 90 so that it looks like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and increase the width of this until it encases the entire wall. So from our camera view, we have something that looks like that. Quick and easy. Okay, so once that's done, I want to go ahead and collapse this. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to, well, let's first off do a quick test render. So I'm going to go ahead and save, and I'm going to be using this cycles rendering engine. So go to the render tab over here, change from Eevee to cycles. Let's have a look at what that looks like when rendered. We don't see anything at all, and that's because our world is quite, well, dark. There's no light in our scene, so we need to add in a light source. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, And the light source I'm going to be using is a HDR image, which is a high dynamic range image. If you go to hdrihaven.com, you'll find all these very cool HDR images that you can use in your scene, and they're all 100% free with license CC0, so you can use it for anything, even commercially. And I found that this can really help push the photorealism of your renders. I ended up downloading this texture from HDRI Haven. It's called the Spruit Sunrise. So just go ahead and download any HDRI image. The 2K is fine. If your computer can handle larger sizes like 4K or 8K or even 16K, go ahead and download and use that. But it tends to be quite overkill for my computer. Back in Blender, I'm going to change to the shading tab over here. Make sure it's unrendered, and I'm going to go to the world settings now, and then change the color to environment texture. And then here I'm going to load in the HDRI that we just downloaded. So in this case, the sunrise texture. So we get something that looks like that. Instantly, we get a lot more realistic lighting and a lot more realistic look. But I don't like the lighting coming in that direction. I want it to come through the window. So we need to rotate our world around so that the light comes in that direction. So just change this from object to world. So now you have the node set up for the world. So here we can start to play around with the direction of where the lighting will hit. So first off, go to Shift A, Input, Texture Coordinate, and then Shift A, Vector, Mapping. Then plug the generated into the vector of the mapping node, and then the vector output of the mapping node to the input vector of the HDRI image. Now change the Z rotation until you can get the sunlight coming through the window. So yep, we're starting to get the sunlight coming through the window. Maybe we might rotate a bit more, maybe even further. Yeah, something like that is looking good. And while I'm also there, I'm going to move the HDRI down on the Z, because I don't want to see too much of that grass, which is okay. But I might just, oh sorry, not that one. I might move this. I might move it to about 0.1, so that we can see something outside that looks like that. So now we get a much nicer looking scene. Only remaining thing that's left to do is to just arrange our scene so that it looks nice. So I guess I can sort of do this in time lapse, but really what this involves is, let me just save my work, go to modeling. Really what this involves is, I'll tab out of this, maybe select this one. We won't call it cube, we'll call it the dining room. And then I'm just going to go and hide it for now. I'm just going to go ahead and go around and arrange the dining room so that it looks like a proper dining room. I might just change the camera length as well. So in camera settings, let's have a focal length of 35. That seems to be the cinematic length, so that we can see a little bit more footage. Alright, so just to finish off, I'm going to give the floor a texture. So let's go into this one over here, and then for the dining room I'm going to create two materials. So go to the material tab. This first one will be the walls, second one will be the floor. Okay, so I'm going to assign, oh, so it's going to face select. I'm going to assign this part of the model as the floor material. So select floor and then hit assign. So if I deselect everything by double tapping A, and then if I go to select walls, this part of the dining room will be walls, and floor, just this will be the floor. So from the top view, I want to go to UV editing and go to top view by hitting 7 on the numpad, and then with the floor faces selected, go U, project from view, and then simply select all these verts over here and scale it up quite a bit. Actually, you might have to do something like that. Okay, so for the floor texture itself, I want to create a wooden floor texture. For the wooden floor texture, I'm experimenting with 2 different textures. I'm at freepbr.com and I found a texture called oak PBR floorboards. You can experiment with this type of texture or this texture as well. This gives you a more shiny, reflective surface. This one gives you a bit more rougher, but still a nice looking texture. All you need to do is just download the Unreal Engine version or the Unity version. I don't really see much of a difference between the two. Just download one of them and extract it to a folder. So once you've done that, I'm going to go to the Shading tab. So that we can see it over here. And then what I'm going to do is go to the floor material, so make sure the floor is selected. Change this from world back to object again. And then we're going to start to bring in each of the image textures from the PBR that we just downloaded. So in this case, I want to try out the mahogany floor. So when you extract it to a folder, you have these few textures. So I want to start off by starting with the base color that you can see over here. Just drag it in over here and connect that color into the base color over here. Straightforward and simple. Next up, let's grab let's say the roughness, drag it in here, and then plug the roughness right into the roughness input of the principal shader. And we should get something that looks like that. Next, we're going to take the normal and drag it in over here. Then we're going to add in another extra node called vector normal map. Plug the color into the color node. Change this color to non-color data, and then plug the normal into the normal. For the roughness, I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. It's looking a little too smooth, so I might get a converter color ramp and just plug it in between the two, and then just drag down this white bit here so that we get a little bit more rough. And I don't like the wood textures going in this direction. I'd rather come in sort of this direction. So let's go back to UV editing again, and then go rotate 90. Let's go back to shading, tab out, and we get a nicer looking wooden floor texture. I might actually scale it up a little bit more, so scale up maybe that much, and then go to shading, make the wood textures a little smaller. Yeah, that's looking more realistic. Finally, for the walls, I'm using this also from freepbr.com, the rough plaster PBR material. Again, you can download the UE4 or the Unity version, really doesn't matter. Just download all the images and extract it somewhere. And then just do the same thing. So first off, grab the base color and plug it into the color. Well, first off, I need to UV unwrap this one. Project from view, and scale everything up around that much, and same with the top. Select all that. From the top view, go U, project from view, select everything and scale it up around that much. And finally, select all these ones over here. And from the side view, U, project from view, select everything and scale up. Cool. So next thing I want to do is go back to the shading tab, bring in the rough plaster base color, plug the color output into the principal shader base color input. Same with the not the preview, sorry, the roughness as well. Plug the roughness into the roughness input of the principal shader. Plug the normal map into a normal map node, vector normal map. Change to non-color data and plug the color, and then plug it into the normal. And finally, we want to what else? Oh, the metallic. There's also a bit of metallic as well. So get the metallic and plug it into the metallic input. So we get something that looks something sort of like that. But I might go ahead and add in one more light source just to brighten things up a bit. So go Shift A, add light, and I want to add in an area light. And from the front view, rotate it 90 degrees so that it hits our scene. And then increase the size of it. And then from this view, let's just move the light in over here, change from square to rectangle, and then it's going to change the Y to encase the side view totally. And then the color of this one, I'm just going to make it a like a slight yellow, slight warm color. And I think the scene is now done. So let's go for a quick render. So I might just actually rotate it. Oops, sorry. Rotate it further down. Bring the scene in a little closer. And yeah, I think we'll give it a quick render and see how that looks. So I'm just going to go ahead now and hit F12. So now we have something that looks like this, really photorealistic looking, which is cool. So the final stage is before you go ahead and show off your work to everyone, you need to do a bit of compositing effects just to make it pop out a little bit. So I want to go ahead and close this. Let's go to the compositing tab of Blender 2.8. Check use nodes and auto render. And then just push left click and then drag these out of the way. Maybe go Shift A, output, and add in a viewer node. And then we might just go ahead and plug this one into the viewer node so that we can see exactly what's going on. Hit V on your keyboard to zoom out. I think it's Alt V to zoom in. So you can see the preview as you add compositing effects. So first thing I want to do, just to make it look a bit more photorealistic, go Shift A, add a lens distortion node. We're going to just add in a bit of chromatic aberration. So just distort it maybe 0.02, check fit so that you'll see these little black parts over here, and add in a little bit of chromatic aberration there, maybe 0.02. Just don't go overboard with this. And that's looking okay. Next up, we might just go and maybe improve the color a little bit. So maybe we might go RGB curves. Let's make the scene a bit brighter. Yeah, that's looking good. And maybe we might just go color balance. The color balance node is a popular node used in top level films. They are used really to create a mood for the scenes. So we don't really care much about mood in our case, but we can use it just to enhance our scene and give it a more distinct popping kind of effect. So in this case, I think something like that is looking okay. Let's see what else. Maybe I might despeckle it, get rid of those little fireflies, those little white dots over there. So go to filter, despeckle. Might go 0.8. I don't really see much of a difference. Might add in a little bit of a glare node, just to add a little bit of a twinkle. I won't use streaks, I'll use mostly fog glow. That tends to look a bit more realistic. Threshold, if you put it down, you get a lot more glow. I'm just going to be really subtle with it. Maybe 1.2. Yeah, something like that is looking good. So we have something that looks like this. So I think that's looking good. The carpet is looking really amazing. The floor also looks amazing because of the PBR. But overall the scene is looking quite nice and overall quite photorealistic. So I think that's really the end of the tutorial. If hopefully you're able to get over here. Just to let you know, for my final piece of render over here, I did tweak the settings to try to get it look the way it is. The first thing is I noticed from the render that the scene looked a bit too dark. One of the specialities of Blender 2.8 and HDR images is its ability to handle high dynamic range. So we can get an even higher dynamic range compared to like even an SLR camera. So what that means is, even though we have mostly one light source, the sunlight, we can use that light source to really light up the entire scene so that we don't have any parts looking too dark. So to change that, and if you find that your renders are also looking too dark, just come over to the render settings over here, and under color management, expand it if it isn't already, just bump up the exposure as much as you need it to, and then your scene will look a lot more brighter and there'll be less dark parts. Don't worry, you won't experience that overblown, over bright kind of effect that you used to get in previous versions of Blender, and that's because we have the Filmic Blender plugin built into Blender 2.8 natively now, so that can handle the higher dynamic range much more efficiently. So once I pulled the exposure up, I found that the scene rendered a lot more brighter, and I got a lot more of a realistic result. Another render setting that I changed was I bumped the samples up to 350. I know it's quite excessive, maybe you don't have to go that far. The main reason was because I was getting so much noise. There's a lot of noise going on here, there's a lot of noise going around this carpet area, and even there's a lot of bit of noise going over here as well, and it just didn't look quite right. So I changed three things. In the render settings, I changed the clamping. For direct light, I put 5. For indirect, I put 6. To be honest, I don't 100% know what this does exactly. I just read online that changing these values will help to reduce the fireflies and the noise. So I changed that. Another thing that I did to reduce the noise was in the world settings. I changed the settings over here. So you might have to expand yours. I changed it from auto to manual, and I made the maximum resolution 1024. I believe in older versions of Blender, if you're using Blender 2.7 and below, you have to tick multiple importance sampling, also in the world settings. So I think that's the equivalent of that in Blender 2.8. Changing this also helps to reduce the noise. The final setting that I changed to drastically reduce the noise, and I think this is a new feature of Blender 2.8, and was very, very effective at reducing a lot of noise, was the denoise feature. So you can find that in this tab over here, the view layer tab. Just check denoising. So yours might be like that. Just go ahead and check it, and instantly, once you finish the rendering, all the noise that you might have in your scene is instantly gone. I don't understand the exact magic behind it. I might have to study this and maybe make a separate tutorial on it once I actually figure it out. But just for now, I found that ticking that really helped to just remove the noise almost completely, and I managed to get this looking result. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please like, share and subscribe. I'll definitely be putting out more tutorials like this, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.